Hey guys, it's Evan, the resident game master here at Chaotic Cast TV. Welcome once again to our top 5 videos where we will be covering all things and topics about D&D. Some of these are opinions and others will be rules and options that are listed within the various source books, all the way up to fizz bands currently. When I'm making this specific video, there may be more coming out as more source books come out with more content, and we will go forward from that point. If you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button and to become part of the chaos with us. Hit the bell icon to get alerts when new videos will drop. Giveaways are coming once we hit certain levels of subscribers. T-shirts, dice, mystery box. We even are throwing around an idea called the Chaotic Crate. So please subscribe, hit the alert icon, and join us. But I thank Dwayne's World for all their awesomeness and D&D Beyond for having the resources to allow us to make these videos. Check out the credits. We have some inspiration shout-outs to Realm Smith and Critical Role. Appreciate and love you guys. Like before, you're going to see some similarities between these cantrips. These are all utility-based, talking more, not necessarily all non-combative cantrips, but pretty much. These are to increase the role-play opportunities and to really get to mingle within your party and do some cool things. Maybe avoid an encounter or talk your way out of one. There's all kinds of different things these cantrips can do, and that's something that doesn't need to be overlooked in D&D. We're talking about cantrips that can navigate an encounter differently than just straight up attacking over and over and over. Without further ado, let's get to the top 5. Number 5 is message. You will see the absolute explicit, overly used, can't count up the numbers of the amount of times it was used in Campaign 2 of Critical Role message. It does have limitations, but it's still an awesome spell. Casting time is 1 action. Most of the time you're not going to be casting in combat. It was not unheard of. I've seen crazy things happen reaching out in the middle of combat for some help to an ally that you know is in a distant location within 120 feet, because 120 feet is the range. It's a verbal, somatic, and material. You know, I don't know how your DM or how your games feel, or if you are a DM, how you feel about material components. I'm kind of under the thing, if it doesn't consume the component, the player has the component. If it costs something that consumes it to activate the spell, they need to replenish those, in my opinion. That way you can't spam Revivify. You have to purchase diamonds as you go. Kind of like the Matt Mercer rules on this sort of stuff. But anyway, if you do care about the material components for message is a short piece of copper wire. It can be used repeatedly. So once they acquire a short piece of copper wire at the beginning, they're good to go from that point forward. Duration lasts 1 round. Skull is transmutation. There's not an attack. There's not a saving throw associated with it. And it's a communication. There's no damage. It's to help you call on allies, make fun of an enemy. Remember, messages can be sent to enemies just as much as they can be sent to allies. Makes your DM happy when you try to talk trash to an enemy. I'll just be honest. I want to hear the trash talk. Throw it at me. I want to hear it. So you point your finger toward a creature within range and whisper a message. The target, and only that specific target, hears the message and can reply in a whisper that you can hear. You cast this spell through solid objects if you are familiar with the target and it's beyond the barrier. Magical silence, 1 foot of stone, 1 inch of common metal, a thin sheet of lead, or 3 foot of wood blocks the spell. So there's limitations depending on if you were captured down in the deep parts of a castle dungeon and the king is very anti-magical and he hates mages and wizards and all sorts of that. He lines his prison cells with a thin sheet of lead. Message ain't gonna work, but it is a cantrip. The spell doesn't have to follow a straight line, and it can travel freely around corners and through openings. It's available for bards, sorcerer, wizards, artificers. Extremely awesome spell to avoid encounters, make fun of enemies. tell an ally something they need to know. Maybe they're in conversation with a random person, or maybe you know your DM makes you use toilet paper, you don't have any, and your partner's at the store. Hey, Naftali, can you pick me up a roll? You know, I'm out, kind of stranded. Number 4, Mage Hand. Mage Hand is a tried and true spell. I could see a lot of people thinking it needs to be more in the roguish sort of area. You want somebody that can have some dexterous ability. Maybe not necessarily. Mage Hand can be used for all sorts of things. You want to poke a door to see what happens, and you don't want to use your hand? There's an arcane essence that can be called upon to poke the door for you. Depending on what the trap is, you might avoid something. Or if you just want to yank someone's coattail, make them fall out of their chair and not get up from your seat, or let them know you're even doing it. All kinds of options here with Mage Hand. It's really cool. Casting time 1 action, range 30 feet, verbal somatic components. It lasts a minute. School is conjuration. There's no attack, and the damage is utility, or damage or effect is utility. You're not gonna hurt anybody with Mage Hand, but when you cast it, a spectral floating hand appears at a point you choose within range. The hand lasts for the duration or until you dismiss it as an action. The hand vanishes if it is ever more than 30 feet away from you, or if you cast a spell again. You can use your action to control the hand. You can use the hand to manipulate an object. So I was talking about the trap. Open an unlocked door or a container. Stow or retrieve an item from an open container, or pour the contents out of a vial. You can move the hand up to 30 feet away from you each time you use it, and the utility purposes of Mage Hand is great. Frustrates a DM a lot. I spent all this time trying to put this specific trap or this specific vial that contains some sort of acidic purpose, hoping that a player will touch it, the vial explodes when it feels the warmth of human flesh, and they Mage Hand it. Sometimes it's just the way it is, man. And it's fun. It's fun to be outsmarted in that manner. Mage Hand allows for a lot of roleplay outside of combat. Things that you can do funny, rude, hilarious, helpful. There's all sorts of things you can do with Mage Hand. Number 3. Prestidigitation. Prestidigitation. I hate the way this spell is. It's the P spell, as we call it here at Chaotic Cast. P.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
It's a cantrip. Casting time is 1 action. Range is fairly short, 10 feet. Components are verbal and somatic. Duration lasts an hour, depending on what you want to do. School is transmutation. There is no attack or save. The damage or effect is utility. Listen to just how cool this spell is. DMs, as always, use the rule of cool with this. The spell is a minor magical trick that novice spellcasters use for practice. You create one of the following magical effects within range. You can create an instantaneous, harmless sensory effect, such as a shower of sparks, a puff of wind, faint musical notes, or an odd odor. I'm pretty sure the opening statement of this spell encapsulates all classes and players of some sort, whatever you want to do. It's so handy to pop it in now. It is a cantrip. Your DM may limit you on certain things you can do with cantrips, but if you need a guard to leave, maybe he smells something that's similar to a dead body. Or maybe he smells an apple pie that his wife normally makes him. Put a puff of that near him as you walk by. Or maybe you just want him to follow someone else in your party. Give him a reason. Smell good or smell bad. Whatever it may be. If you want to scare away the rats from a body, send some sparks in that direction. Hopefully they don't hit grease, or your DM's not extremely rude and has something connected that will set the whole room on fire. But if the case, if Prestidigitation kills you as a player and it was something you cast and your DM's a jerk, and that's just funny, but it's rude, find a new DM. Anyway, you can instantaneously light or snuff out a candle, a torch, or a small campfire. I like like how this is a cantrip. And it's like, oh yeah, a candle. No big deal. I agree. A torch? Okay. Okay, I'm with you. You can cast Firebolt. We're talking about a campfire at this point. Imagine, you're sitting at a campfire, your entire party's got a rabbit halfway cooked and done, and you're getting excited to eat it. All of a sudden, someone walks up and just snuffs out your campfire. I'm killing that person. Because especially if you're a DM like me and you made your group have a way to light the fire, you had to find dead wood that's dried out and will actually light, those sort of realistic life things. Yeah, I'm killing that dude. Just saying. You can instantaneously clean or soil. People forget about the soil part. Clean or soil an object no larger than 1 cubic foot. Or you can repeatedly cast it and clean up your whole self, or make somebody look extremely gross and nasty. You can chill, warm, or flavor up to 1 cubic foot of non-living material. The list is going to go on and on with this spell of the things you can do. That's why it made the list. It's so cool. You can make a color, small mark, symbol appear on the object of a surface for an hour. You can create a non-magical trinket or illusory image and can fit that in your hand until the end of the next turn. If you cast a spell multiple times, you can have 3 of its non-instantaneous effects at a time, and you can dismiss such effect as an action. It's available for Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard, Artificer. It is a spellcaster's friend. Number 2 is it's a 2-parter. Dancing Lights and Light are the cantrips that I have grouped into number 2. And the reason why I have them there is they are very similar in what they do. Dancing Lights first is an action, 120 feet range. It's verbal, somatic, material. I've already discussed material components. Your DM will do what he wants to do. It's a minute duration, school's evocation, attack and save. There isn't one. It's a utility effect. Listen, people, I know the classes and races of people have dark vision. Mostly all the way through now. So lights are... People instantly think lights are for seeing. Which isn't. I mean, that's a valid statement. I agree. Like, you need lights to see what's going on, especially in the deep dark of a cavern. But what if you're trying to signal somebody away? You could shoot a small load of fire, or you could touch something, a shield, or a little point on top of a building or a flag, and just... But with Dancing Lights, you create up to 4 torch-sized lights within range, making them appear as torches, lanterns, or glowing orbs in the air for the duration. You can also combine the 4 lights into one glowing, vaguely humanoid form of medium size. Whichever form you choose, each light sheds dim light in a 10-foot radius. As a bonus action on your turn, you can move the lights up to 60 feet to a new spot within range. A light must be within 20 feet of another light created by the spell, and the light winks out if it exceeds. It's available for Bard, Sorcerer, Wizard, Artificer. Artificer, whatever you like. Don't be one of those people that hates which words you use. Whichever one. Dancing Lights does have certain limitations, but it's cool because you can make it into a humanoid form. That's the reason why it's on here. Light is very similar in the same thing, except Light can do a little bit more than just straight utility, I would say. It's a casting time of 1 action. It's touch. You can't cast it from afar and do what you want to do. It's verbal material. The material on it is a firefly or phosphorescent moss. Duration 1 hour. School evocation. The attacker save. It does have a save, and we'll get to more of that. It's a dexterity saving throw, which is kind of weird, but it works. And then the damage or effect is creation. You touch one object that is no larger than 10 feet in any dimension. Until the spell ends, the object sheds bright light in a 20-foot radius and dim light for an additional 20 feet. The light can be colored as you like. People forget that. You can make it whatever color that you want. Completely covering the object with something opaque blocks the light, just like a lamp. The spell ends if you cast it again or dismiss it as an action. Here's the part of the dexterity saving throw. If you target an object or are warned by a hostile creature, that creature must succeed on a dexterity saving throw to avoid the spell. The reason why that's in there, because there are creatures out there that hate light, or light damages creatures. They can't be in light. The part that matters is it sheds bright light. Now, depending on how your DM wants to rule it or do it, me personally, bright light, if it's not like torchlight, it's sunlight. So if sunlight and you drop that on a dro, remember we're in fizz bands. I know Nerd Immersion just talked about a leak coming out for Mordekainen's next thing. I think Monsters of the Multiverse or something like that. And I know that there is some sort of potential sunlight sickness goes away, which is cool. I'm fine with that. But the light spell could potentially do that if you were fighting a Durgar or something like that. It's available for Bard, Cleric, Sorcerer, Wizard, Artificer as well. And last, number 1, tried and true, guidance. You're about to do something that's non-combative. You got to talk your way out of a situation. You got to try and convince a guard, a judge, a king, an advisor. You're trying to convince somebody to sell you something. You're trying to jump across a river that's fast moving. You're trying to swim, jump, climb, crawl, you name it. I'm going to touch my chest, pray to my cleric or my loot, or see, you got cleric, druid, and artificer. So regardless, you're praying to something, calling on something, or you've invented something that allows you to be better at what you're doing, even if it is by just one single point. That's 1 point, guys. DC 16, you roll a 15, you roll a 1 on that D4, you get to a 16, you meet and beat the check. Whole new game. Whole new ball game. Casting time is 1 action, range is touch. Normally used on yourself. You can touch others if you are assisting someone doing something. It lasts a minute. School of Magic is divination. There's no attack, no save. The damage or effect is a buff. You touch 1 willing creature once before the spell ends. The target can roll a d4 and add the number rolled to 1 ability check of its choice. It can roll the die before or after making the ability check. Then the spell ends. Classic, man. Extra 1d4, you're getting 1, 2, 3, or 4 added on to whatever you roll. When you're meeting a DC and you're not great in that check, 4 points can make a big difference. One of the numbers that people think about is like DC of 12. It's common. 10 to 12, especially early game. If you roll an 8 or 9, you're rolling a 12 or 13 if you hit a D4. You hit a 4 on the D4. So, awesome spell. That's it, guys. That's the top 5 utility cantrips. Please take into consideration when you're using these cantrips that you're picking these early. Maybe it'll change or spice up your adventure, man. If you like what you see, please subscribe. Hit the alert icon. We're going to be doing more of these as time goes on. When we get closer to certain subscriber goals, we are doing giveaways. It'll feature t-shirts, dice, all sorts of different cool things. As always, stay and check out the credits for inspiration from Real Smith doing their awesome subcritical role. Appreciate, love you guys, love them, love everybody. See you next time.
Huh?